At this point, my All Nations and Conan video sits at 23,000 views and is my most popular video on the channel. This means a creation that was more my own hard work has received more recognition than my old Guild Wars 2 content, which got popular by accidentally piggybacking off of the release date of End of Dragons. I'm deeply grateful to everyone who watched and commented on that video. Thank you all. Since I can now officially call myself a Conan channel, I thought a great way to celebrate would be correcting the mistakes in my most popular video and adding information that was left out in some cases. The following information relates to the cultures of Hyperborea, the Pictish Wilderness, Turan, and Brythunia. Let's begin. Grimdark. Half off! We will begin with the last country I mentioned, which was Brythunia. At the time, I was less friendly towards using Marvel sources for my Conan canon knowledge and wanted to stick to either the writings of Howard or the placement of many Conan canon elements within the Cthulhu mythos. As my understanding of the universe has developed, so too has my view of its canon. Using the Marvel knowledge I have at my disposal, if I were going to rewrite the Brythunia section of the video, it would go something like this. One day birthing the cultures known of today as Polish, Latvian, and Lithuanian, the Brythonians are a people characterized by disunity and organized chaos. While a single monarch remains in the country, the culture of this monarchy is one that prides itself on the philosophy that he who governs least governs best. Sadly, the chaotic state of affairs the nation is in often leads to their men being stereotyped as idiots by surrounding territories and their women being victims of the ever-present slave trade of the time. Concerning both the Picts and Turanians, my flaws were minor but still key to understanding the culture in a brief summary. These flaws have to do with the real-life influences of each culture. While I did describe the active nature of their cultures correctly, some of their real-life influences I did leave out. While there are some Persian elements to Turanian society, as one of the first comments I ever got on that video pointed out, Turan literally means land of the Turks, and as I have learned researching for my god series, their chief god Erlik will later be turned into a different deity of the same name in ancient Turkish mythology. Likewise with Picts, while many of their tribes still have Celtic-inspired literal Pict aesthetic to them, they also take heavy inspiration from the Native American cultures Robert E. Howard would have been very familiar with given his childhood Texas upbringing, such as the Comanche, famous Apache tribe, and Blackfoot cultures. When it comes to the final flaws of that video, it more has to do with my characterization of the state the nations are in. This was most egregious when it came to the culture of Hyperborea. I talked about the beginning of their culture at the start of the Hyperborean Age as though that was still the state their culture was in. While their colonization was responsible for spreading the worship of Mitra, they are currently ruled by a wicked witch queen, with their primary government being the White Hand. They are currently a decadent nation of Nordic-themed necromancers, where assassination has replaced honorable combat as the primary way of warriors. This is easily what I feel to be the biggest of my mistakes, as it doesn't just leave out information which can always be corrected, but gives people the wrong idea of the modern Hyperborean cultural state. If one was looking for an alternative to Stygia, to have a nation of sorcerers everywhere, but with a Viking aesthetic rather than an Egyptian one, Hyperborea is a good choice. I also obviously left out that they were the sons of Bori, which is also going to be covered in our God series. So look forward to that. When we finally get to part 3, we'll get to Thor's grandpa. I'd like to finish by reading my favorite comment exchange on that video, which helped me think about the Hyperborean Age in a way I hadn't previously, from user CulturePop. His initial comment was very useful. It reads, I'm a bit confused about places like Argos, Koth, and Ophir. Some places say Koth and Ophir are ancient Roman-inspired, and Argos is ancient Greece-inspired, while others say Koth and Ophir are medieval Italy-inspired, and Argos is medieval Greece-inspired. Would you be able to confirm which one it is? I'm a big fan of ancient Rome and Greece, and just want to know which Hyperborean nation is ancient Rome/Greece. Appreciate any help you can give. Now, what I answered back was something that even as I was answering it, I realized I had never talked about in that video, and I felt like it was such a good primer. So as an addendum, which means ending message to the previous video you just watched, so I'll put this right after the video you just watched, which would have been that video, so this will be very jarring for you. So I answer back, I think the problem here isn't a conflation of lore, but more how this was described to you. Both the medieval description and ancient description is true. The Hyperborean age exists in a cyclical history loop, and medieval-level technology was invented, lost, and reinvented in the world of Howard many times before what we would call the Middle Ages. So they are ancient in culture, but depending on the area within the nation, can reach up to medieval levels of technology. It's a fusion of the two concepts and different ages of tech before the invention of gunpowder. And then he answers back, oh right, that's really interesting. So in terms of appearance and architecture, would you say that somewhere like Koth and Ophir would look like A or B? Would it be men in togas walking past colosseums, or would it be Renaissance Italy with Leonardo da Vinci types? Or would each area of the nation be like stepping into a different period of Italy's history? Also appreciate the quick reply. You've just earned a follower. Thank you very much, Culture Pop. So, once again, fashion varies greatly, both in Conan and in its thematically opposite but canon series, Elric. The really unique and cool thing about the countries in Conan is architecture. In ancient times, you'll often find a world of adobe buildings or Hellenic marble design, but these will be very simple in the real world, very down-to-earth literally, in the sense that they would have the tallest of common ancient buildings being the ziggurat, which would only be about 3 stories. Conan asks the question, hey, what if all those primitive tree houses, adobe rock buildings, and others had skyscraper and large city versions? Cities in Conan have a lot of Las Vegas or urbanized energy to them, despite being ancient. Cross Plains, Texas was a crime-ridden nightmare, and it influenced a lot of Howard's representation of cities. Fashion varies in era, but there are, of course, some standard things, like togas being more common the further south you go, and trousers more common in the north. Armor is very practical, which is sadly not represented in Exile as well. And robes/dresses are pretty universal. He answers back, that's super interesting, not what I expected, but way more interesting, honestly. Thank you very much. What would you say is the best visual depiction of the Hyperborean age then? You mentioned Exiles not getting the armor right. Did any particular comic or one of the other games or some specific other visual media perfectly depict the world of Conan? I said, finally, my last response to him back, if he ever read it, I hope he did. Yes, that would be Age of Conan. I'm doing a Let's Play of that right now. And I would add an update to my Conan Let's Play that I had to re-roll as a demonologist because I accidentally put my points into the wrong things as a Herald of Zotli. I've finally gotten past Tortage, and I will do a separate video on why I am not releasing the Tortage part of the Let's Play. This was a short video as it was more intended to be a brief correction and a thank you message for those who commented on the first. Once again, thank you to everyone who has supported this channel by liking, subscribing, and donating.